Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble and Bicker. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble and Bicker. It is November 2nd. It is rainy and drizzly where I am, but everyone else on the show is in the sun and the lunacy of Florida. It's a very special episode. Matt is with Brendan, closer to Brendan than he normally is to me. And we have two very special guests today. We have the spouses of Matt and Brendan as our special guests today, our special counsel. This is going to be they're going to have some really good insights.
I want you to speak more haltingly.
I've never done this before. I'm a little nervous. So we have Lavonna and Holly on, and they will be joining us later on in our, if they want to, our client, the times they are a Strangin.
Okay.
And we'll see how that goes later on in half an hour.
Yes, we will. Do you have a fake sponsor for today, Greg?
I do. It's not very good.
Yeah, but it's still not going to pay our bills, so it's all moot.
It is. Okay, so I'm going to take my video off so you can have more of the illusion of different actors talking. So where's my stop video?
Are we getting a production?
No, not really, but
it's like David Copperfield.
I think it's turning into an audio book is what's happening.
This is more like David Blaine. Okay, so here we go. Here's our sponsor. Oi! What's the matter, Barry? I have to dress down my sales team for a poor performance in the third quarter, and I'm too much of a wuss to really lay into them in the email. Oh, that ain't no thing. It sounds like you need passive attack. Yes, passive attack, the latest in software technology that will make your passive-aggressive missives aggressive. Here's how it works. Before passive attack, dear neighbor, though we like to rock out as much as the next guy, we would really appreciate it if you could lower the volume of your music after 10 p.m. We don't mean to bum you out, but we both have jobs that require us to get up pretty early in the morning. Thanks. Sincerely, Colin and Pamela. After passive attack. Dear fucko, some of us are trying to sleep over here. You fucking animals. Either you drop the volume on your crappy music, or I can come over there and drop you like the sack of shit that you are. Sincerely, fuck you. Before passive attack. Hey, bro, I'm sorry you had to miss Mom's 70th. She was a little sad you weren't there, but like I told her, life happens. I'm sure you had a good reason, and I hope you can make it next year. After passive attack. Hey, shit dick, I hope you're happy you broke our mother's heart yesterday. I guess huffing jenkem out of the coos of the skank you call a girlfriend was more important than celebrating the woman who wiped the shit out of your ass every day. Fuck off and die. Stop beating around the bush and order passive attack today. Some people just need both barrels. That was it. I don't know what that was.
I like your jenkem callback, though. I'll have to give you credit for that. Extra credit for that one.
That was good. That was good, Greg. I'm impressed. I think I need that app. Actually, I don't.
You don't need it, Brendan. You're kind of on
it. I think I need the reverse version of the app, where it takes my shit and makes it passive aggressive.
So you need passive placebo or something.
Something
that takes you back to normal. So, Greg, what is it you'd like to talk to our guests about?
Well, I'd like to talk to them. The first half of our show is dedicated to our guests. So, Lavonna, we'll start with Lavonna since I know her more.
Okay.
Do you want to tell us about yourself? Where'd you grow up, Lavonna?
Oh, my God. What the hell kind of question is that?
What's your favorite color, Lavonna? If you were any kind of tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Oh, let's see. I like purple, and
Obviously.
I grew up in the Portland metropolitan area. Wasn't born there though, but it's the only place I know. And what was the last part of the question?
Well, it was inane. So
He said he wanted to
Well,
know
let's
what
move
kind
on.
of tree you wanted to be.
What kind of tree? I like a Douglas fir. Yeah,
let's support locals.
because then I can be used to bring joy at Christmas time.
Oh, people chop you down.
Oh, they do all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, married to Matt. I guess you
Hey.
get chopped down a lot.
You know what I have to deal with every day.
So what do you do, Lavonna? What do you do for a living?
I am an elementary music teacher.
I kind of knew that.
Yeah, you do.
I feel disingenuous here.
You're like, what do you do?
Wow, that's
You're
it.
like,
Wow, I didn't know that.
You're
Wow.
so genuine. Yeah. But not only that, as I am an entrepreneur and a business owner as well. And so I make several things for music educators to use in their music classrooms. And I also have co-written a ukulele book with my sister for teachers to use. And coming up soon, hopefully the end of December, is an ocarina book. So,
And you
Really,
made this.
Greg, you really need to be asking what you really want to know.
Lavonna made this, if I can get it on.
it's a sushi mask.
Oh, I
Especially
forgot she
Lavonna
made
has
that
her
mask
own-
for you.
Lavonna has her own Etsy site, and she makes stuff. Okay, so what do I need to ask, Matt?
Well, that's like, what do you really? I mean, you're like kind of giving softball questions.
I
So-
am. Well, that's what we always do.
No, we
We
don't.
never had people that we knew of before. Okay, I guess the real question is why Matt?
You know, if you were to compare him to my ex-husband, it's
Okay.
like night and day.
So you were married to like a serial killer
Oh, pretty gosh darn close.
with no
yeah.
legs.
So yeah, so she had no standards.
No, that's not true at all.
The bar was lowered before Matt.
Right. It made it easy for me to get in there.
It was a low bar. Yeah, very low bar.
I'm gonna.
What'd you
just-
think of Matt the first time you? Oh, sorry, Brett. Continue.
I'm saying I'm gonna refuse to comment on any of the things that were just said.
A low bar?
Low
So
bar
what did you think of Matt?
allowed me to get in
What
there.
did you
I'm
think of
not.
Matt the first time you met him?
No.
Serial killer.
Yeah. So no, where did I
What did you
Where
think
did I
Matt the
meet
first time
him?
you saw him?
Oh,
What did you think of the first time you met him? Were you just
First
like,
time I
all
met
on
him-
board, or were you like, God, I don't know about this.
So the first time I met him, I was like, he talks. That's about it.
you're looking. Were you just dating mutes beforehand?
Nobody talked. Never.
You just lived in a world of grunting.
Huh. Actually, no communication whatsoever.
From anyone.
I was blown
So when
away
you first
that
met,
he could converse.
did you like the way he talked?
What was that, Greg?
Did you like his talk, or were you just like the first time you met him? Were you just like, God, this guy doesn't shut up, or you liked it? You were like, wow, he's a great conversationalist.
It
I'm
was
enjoying
the second of what you said. I was taken aback by his ability to communicate, and he actually was pretty smart. So that's what I went. Oh, he talks.
I haven't seen that side of Matt yet, but that's interesting. I should have to
Okay.
marry Matt to figure that out.
Yeah.
Well,
If
Greg,
you'd like
you
to
don't,
join in,
Kidding.
Greg.
you don't have to marry him, Greg. Trust me. You don't have to.
I already kind of have. I'm a second spouse, kind of. Or I'm just his boyfriend, I guess you say.
Okay. Whatever floats your boat.
It does not float my boat, Matt.
Considering you look like a
Stinks.
stevedore now, it probably has to do with boats.
Yes,
Does that make you a concubine?
kind of.
Okay.
The other woman who's not.
Right. Greg is part of my harem.
I didn't know you had a harem. Is that okay in Portland? I mean, a lot of things are legal there, so
Yeah.
maybe.
It is. I believe in the
Okay.
last legislative session, they legalized harems.
Is there a
Okay, I
certain
wanna ask-
limit?
What?
Is there a limit to the number of wives? Or?
Yeah, you're allowed to have 999. If you break the 1,000 mark, they shoot you.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Check.
And
But you
Greg,
can't have 99
because
problems unless
No.
a bitch is in one. That's the law.
it's 999.
So Holly, I want to ask Holly, how did you meet Brendan, and what did you think? What were your first impressions of this guy, this squabbling motherfucker?
Well, we were 21 and we were in Los Angeles. And when I first saw him, I thought he was about 18 because he was about 120 pounds. He had blonde hair and he was a skateboarder. And so I thought he was 3 years younger than me. And then I found out he was my age. And yeah, he's funny.
Was he wearing a mohawk at the time?
No,
Oh,
no. He just had shaggy blonde hair.
Did you like the cut of his jib? Right off the bat. That's not a euphemism.
Hey, I
what
don't
exactly
think
is a jib anyway, Greg?
I don't think we need to be discussing anyone's jib.
Brendan's jib.
I think that's actually like a sail. I think a jib is something that goes on a sail.
It is a sail. It's the front. It's a little one in the front.
Yeah.
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 But
yeah,
Brendan's
no,
jib
he
is
was
a euphemism.
funny and smart, kind of like what Lavonna was saying about Matt, good conversationalist, funny, smart, and
I was better than her ex-husband.
I had no bar because
She
I
had no bar at all.
Right. See,
There was no precedent, so there was no bar high or low. There was only Brendan. So.
It was
So his
fully, it was
jib
being
was the
fully duped is essentially what it was, as opposed
Yes.
to like going into it with a little bit of a grain of salt going, well, it's going to go bad.
So you didn't know any other jibs. This was your first jib. He was just like, I got nothing to compare this jib to.
He is my first husband. Yeah,
Her one and only
Yeah.
jib.
my one and only.
So how
Well,
did
then
you
I
guys first meet? Could you like set it up, the story? Like, how'd you meet?
He was doing AV. I was at a conference out there, and
Cool.
he was doing audio visual, and apparently he looked into the audience and he was looking for a girl. That's what he told me later. And
Any girl?
I think so. I think just any old girl. And then he spotted me and another girl and thought that we were both okay. And
wow.
So
Brandon's
it's
gone for the
50-50.
okay ones.
I was looking. You have to understand, Greg. The audience was. I was 21. The audience was mostly people in their 40s. So I was looking at it for someone who was my age, of which there was Holly and another girl.
Right. So the bar was low for him. So.
Yeah.
The pickings
So
were
how
slim.
did you
Somebody
how did you
his
win
age.
Brendan over the other girl? Was there like a little competition? Like he was kind of hitting on both of you?
Did you have to limbo to get your way into a date with him or something?
I was oblivious. I didn't even know he was interested.
Oh,
So
he
yeah,
was on the hunt.
I was oblivious to the hunt.
You didn't know you were prey.
I did not. He told me much later after he had snagged me that I was actually prey, and that I had one other person that I was competing with unknowingly.
Would you liken him more to a cheetah or a lion, or maybe just like a macaw or a vulture?
Oh gosh, a cheetah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that, Brendan. You're a cheetah.
Cheetah. I wouldn't have given myself cheetah, but okay.
What
would you have given
A
yourself?
cheetah in my eyes.
I'm always afraid to ask what animal Lavonna would say Matt is like. What
The
animal
one
would you liken Matt to?
the one that sleeps the most,
The sloth?
A basset hound?
the one that moves the least.
A
Koala?
slug?
Oh, those are slimy. He's
I
not
think he
slimy.
meant when we first met, not currently.
Oh.
Oh, but I prefer the one that moves the least. No. I don't do those things well, really.
You don't do what things? What?
What kind of tree are you? I don't know. What kind
What?
of tree are you?
I'm a weeping willow.
Yeah, we weep for you. Oh,
No, I weep for myself all the time. I'm a sad sack.
I
A
thought you were
self-pitying
I
turd.
thought you were a dogwood, Greg.
It could be that. That's too majestic for me.
Well, Brendan and I have kind of evolved though. So we're not the same animals that we were 30 years ago because we've been married 30 years now. So we were sleeker animals then, and now we're more beavers and otters. That's kind of how we look at ourselves.
Oh, that ergo the tattoo on Brendan's arm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's after
No.
30 years of children beating you down and sapping your energy.
That's right.
So what excuse do you have, Greg?
This old age and bad living.
But you don't have any kids beating you down and sapping your energy, though.
No, I do it to myself. I beat
Okay.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're not talking about me.
Oh,
We're
sorry.
talking about, so I want to, Lavonna, tell us the story. Like, how did you meet Matt? Like, what was the situation? What was the...
I was singing at a club as a jazz vocalist, a headliner. It's called Tony Starlight's Supper Club and Lounge.
I like how you had to toss in the word headliner, but that's okay. Keep going.
Well,
Oh, it's important.
I wasn't a backup singer.
Yeah.
You know, I did my own night.
It was just like the nuanced, slightly demure headliner, as you were the jazz singer.
Oh,
I just want to know more about Tony Starlight, but go ahead.
Tony
He's
Starlight.
amazing.
It was a character. That's his stage name, and he had a supper club that was in Portland, and he would have other artists come in, and we would use his place. People come in, they order food, they listen to the music. It was kind of a fun place.
It's kind of like a throwback to like the early 60s, late 50s style type of club. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. So what songs were you singing? What?
I sang a lot of jazz standards and original jazz pieces too.
So you did some of your own original music.
Yeah, I wrote a lot of
Oh,
music
that's
and
cool.
stuff. Yeah.
You weren't just an Etta James cover girl.
No, I did my own thing.
She like refused to sing Etta James songs.
So you wouldn't sing like "Hello, my baby," "Hello, my honey," "Hello, my
No.
sister."
Dude, that was
Hello, my
favorites.
baby. And then she would dress like a frog while she sang it.
Mammy, would you ever sing?
No.
Oh,
No.
hey,
Things like Nature Boy or When I Fall in Love or jazz standards like that.
Route
Or
66.
one of my favorites, Cry Me a River. That
That's a good
was a good one because I could, kind of project my ex into that song. Anyway,
Hey, sing us a bar.
no,
Cry Me a River.
no,
What? You sound okay.
I don't want to right now.
All right, fine.
Just so you guys know, Lavonna is an amazing singer. She has her own CDs of her jazz music. She's really, really good. And she didn't even mention that at the beginning. I just noticed.
Well,
I
thank
forgot.
you. Thank you.
She's very,
Anyway,
very talented.
I had been performing and it was like the month of September, and Tony Starlight said to me, "You need to work on your following," meaning I needed to bring more people into the club. And he said, "You need to meet my PR guy." And so, mental note, meet Tony's PR guy. About 2 weeks later, they had big band karaoke night. And a friend of mine from high school was going to be singing that night. So I went to go support him because he always came to my gigs. And so I went that night, and Matt happened to be there. And Tony introduced him to the crowd and said, "This is my friend, Matt Bratschi." And I thought, ooh, friend. He's a friend of Tony's. Maybe I should meet him. I don't know this guy. And I noticed that he had been eating alone. He had nobody. There was nobody there.
I noticed how Brendan is cracking up at that statement that I was eating alone.
I just
He was-
sounded. It sounded sad. He was.
It is very sad.
I noticed he was eating alone.
He was eating alone.
And yet I was perfectly content to eat alone.
Well, of course you were. That's not the funny part of it. I'm just saying that another human being observed you eating alone and took pity on you. That's my.
I did. Trust me, I did. So after the evening was over, it ended up that my friend, also participating in this big band karaoke night, ended up winning the competition, and congratulations to him. And no, Matt did not win. I think he sang Mac the Knife and some other tune. So probably some other Frank Sinatra tune or something, I don't know. Anyway, after the evening was over, I noticed he was standing by himself and he was reading the paper. And so I thought, I don't know this guy. I'm going to go do something I don't normally do. And that is
Be an opportunist.
Yes, be an opportunist and strike up a conversation with a strange man.
Speak to a psychopath, basically.
Emphasis on strange man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. And so I went and I started talking to him, and we were just talking about, it was just random talk, whatever we were talking about. And he asks if he could escort me to my car. And it wasn't until then, and we're walking outside, that he says, that I actually asked him, sorry, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I'm Tony's PR guy. And I'm like, I need to meet you. And that's how it happened, is that I was told that I needed to meet Tony's PR guy. And here, ta-da, I met Tony's PR guy.
So you just hung out with Matt to make your career better? Is that you were just trying to
Not really.
Exactly.
sleep
We
your way to
actually
the
had
top?
that is not it at all. We actually had a business dinner a couple weeks after that. And it was then that Matt realized that I could not afford his services.
Oh my.
And so then,
And then it became pay to play.
and so then he invited me on a date instead. So there you go.
Did he give you his services after that?
I am not going to answer that question. I am a lady.
No, I was saying his services, like PR. Was he like,
Oh, I got the PR for free. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, she'd been working on this CD for like 15, 20 years or something, so I helped her complete it.
Yeah.
And then we
So he
promoted
did.
it. And
But would
He
you have
helped
done that to a complete stranger that you had no interest in, Matt? That you didn't want to smooch with?
well, at the time, we were relationing. So
Relationing?
by the time
Is that
the
a-
CD was being put together, yeah.
Yes.
So we
So
used my
when you-
resources to help make that happen.
I just want to backtrack real quick. So did you talk to Matt just out of pity, or you were kind of like, this guy's kind of attractive?
I didn't know him. It pretty
didn't
much
think.
was, I didn't know who this guy was. I knew
Yeah.
he was a friend of Tony's, and I kind of wanted to continue to perform at Tony Starlight. So I thought,
So you thought by sucking up to me, you'd get a better, like more gigs from Tony or something, or?
it was worth a shot.
And it worked.
So it had nothing to do with attractiveness, Greg, is what she's saying. In
Yeah.
other words, she was actually initially repulsed by me, and that's why.
She must have liked the cut of your jib, though, because she
We couldn't
wouldn't
even find
talk
my
to you.
jib.
There was no
Oh.
jib.
Yeah.
Oh,
No
man.
jib. There was no boom, no rudder.
Okay, so we have to go back to Holly because we didn't really get into it. So, like, Brendan saw you from the stage, and then, like, he approached you. What's the story there?
Basically, he helped me. I was trying to get into a door. Do you remember, Brendan? I'm actually trying to remember exactly what it was. You were actually trying
Was
to
that
help me.
hard?
Trying to get
Was
to
it
a door.
difficult door?
Yeah,
In
you
a
know, there
way?
was
The
something
knob
that
was gone.
locked out, and he actually helped me get in, and he was helping me find my way around. It was out in California, and I didn't.
They didn't have doors where you were from.
They didn't have doors. I didn't know how to open a door.
They didn't allow doors in Minnesota.
No.
There was several doors that had security locks, so you only could go out kind of like an airport. You could only go out, but you couldn't come back in. And she had misplaced this, binder of information about the conference or whatever. And she was trying to get back to the hall where the conference was held. And she was trying to get through the door, but she couldn't because it was locked and you couldn't go back in after you left. So I saw her and went, aha. And so then I ran and I opened the door and I said, what do you need? And
Did
she
she
said,
hear you say, aha?
I don't think so. She might have
Hear her
seen
say,
me.
"Aha."
You would
I
have
was
freaked her out.
clueless for quite some time, actually. That,
You were like, now is my chance.
I will get her.
Aha.
It shall happen.
So I went
She's
and
alone.
she said, oh, I had this binder and I must have left it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then dumb me, I just let the door close. So she was still standing on the other side of the door. And then I ran down this hallway thinking to myself, I should have brought her with me. That was dumb, but too late. And then I went into this room and of course there was binders all over the place because everybody left their binders there. And I just grabbed one and went, this is her binder. And then I ran back up and I gave it to her and she said, oh, thanks. And then she left.
yeah.
And they never saw each other again.
Well, how did you, then what happened after that?
Well, I think we went out to eat at a place called, what was it called? Grouchies, or I forget what it was called.
Well, how did he find you again if he lost you after giving you the binder?
Oh, he didn't totally lose me.
He put like a tracer
because
on you.
basically I flew back to Minnesota. No, I know what happened. I flew back to Minnesota. Oh yeah, that's right. And he just continued kind of staying in communication with me. And
He kept like delivering binders to Minnesota.
yeah, would call me up about random things. And
How did he get your number though?
because we were working, because of where we were working.
Oh,
So
okay, so he got it
yeah.
from like a colleague. or
yeah.
something. Okay.
And
yeah.
so then he would call and ask me about what media was playing in our area. And he got an article run in Minneapolis, which is where I was. And he wanted to get a copy of this article. And it was one of those free newspapers that they leave in the free stands. And of course, it was in the winter. So I remember having to go and look for this article that he really seemed to be very important to him. And so I'm like walking through the skyways, in Minneapolis, how they have the skyways because it's so cold in the winter. So, I'm looking at.
Do they have those like in the farmland too?
Yeah, no. It was in Minneapolis. And I'm trying to
Okay.
find this Minneapolis Times. I'm trying to find this newspaper. And he kept calling me saying, did you find it yet? Did you find it? And then I finally found it. And I sent it to him. So he was just making up excuses and he kept calling me.
I think that was the story of his butterfly tattoo, Greg, is what that story was in that newspaper.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty
Greg,
much.
you remember the butterfly tattoo?
I
From
don't.
from when we had the psychic on.
I
Oh,
remember.
How did you lose that damn joke? Jesus.
Sorry, I forgot.
Anyway,
And then I went
Damn
back
whiskey.
up to LA, and then he and our friend John picked me up from the airport, and we went to a Ferris wheel on the coast,
Ooh.
and we rode on a Ferris wheel. So that was kind of like our very first date that I didn't know was a date.
With
because it
John?
was- yeah, John was with us. Yeah,
So
John
rode on the Ferris wheel with you two?
I think he let us go on by ourselves.
no, he wasn't. Yeah, no, John and I had an understanding.
Yeah. So,
Brendan, did you? Oh, continue.
oh
Well,
yeah.
I-
anyway, so
I
was
wanna
oblivious.
know-
I was oblivious during this time, and I had no idea that Brendan had an interest in me, and I actually didn't have an interest in him at that time.
Ooh,
And,
ouch.
No, but I mean, it was just I lived in Minnesota. He lived in LA. It was whatever. But I was out in LA, and then we just sort of hung out, and then I decided I liked him. So
It was that cheetah-like nature of his.
it was that cheetah-like
Yes.
nature. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
You're like, that cheetah in LA. I think I'm interested.
And I took her to Grouchies, which was also known as Gorky's,
Gorky's,
was-
that's what it was.
which was
Gorky's.
a Stalin era themed brew house in Hollywood, just off Hollywood Boulevard. Actually, I'm sure it's not there anymore.
Why wasn't it just called Gorky's? What does Grouchies have to do with Stalin era?
Grouchies
Grouchies
was
because Holly thought it was called Grouchies earlier in your
remember the
interview.
name of it.
He said it was
Grouchies,
Grouchies.
Gorkies, you know.
Gorky's, that's, like Gorky Park, not
Gorky's.
Grouchy Park.
It's close.
It's like
It's close.
Porky's the
Martial
movie,
arts.
Greg.
Yeah.
It's like Porky's the movie. It's like
It was
Porky
a,
Park.
it was a Muppet themed thing. It was like Oscar the Grouch's bar, if you had one. It was very fun.
Garbage cans everywhere. You sit in a
Garbage
garbage
cans.
can.
Yeah, you had like a garbage can on the table with popcorn in it that you ate. It was fun.
So when you went on that Ferris wheel ride, did you slip a $5 to the carney there and be like, "Hey, stop it" when we're at the top? Did you know that old trick?
I do know that trick, and no, I was either too broke or too stupid. And didn't think of that.
Have you done that before, Greg? Have you slipped a $5 to a carney, but not just for a Ferris
No,
wheel?
I just see it in movies. I've slipped a lot of things to carnies, but not a $5. Yeah, I'm always too broke.
Really, Greg? What have
Yeah.
you slipped the carnies, Greg?
It's not for
Banana
public
peels?
consumption.
Oh, okay.
It's
fine, fair
private.
enough.
That's
Is
a
it
private thing between you and a carney. You know,
hair
It's like-
brushes?
Yeah, no, I
It's
get
like a
it.
quiet understanding that you have with the carney community.
yeah, it's it's like the Hippocratic oath.
Here you go, Mr. Carney. I'm sliding you this thing.
And then you get a nice stuffed animal. Or you
Yeah.
become the stuffed animal.
Okay, so here's the main question, though, guys. Do you, at this point in time, after hearing these stories, did you make a mistake? Do you now realize, or are you pleased? Are you pleased with your decision?
Yes.
You're pleased?
Yeah, we have 4 amazing kids that we've done a good job of raising together and had a lot of adventures, and yeah.
I just like the fact that Lavonna is delaying answering this,
I'm having power issues.
which is the main reason for the delay of response. Is
Yes.
the constant power issues between the two of us.
Oh, gosh, no, that's not the case. No, I have absolutely no regrets. And I honestly think it was the best decision I ever made. So.
Okay,
But
here's another.
I should give
I
a-
have a question for Brendan, though. I want to know, what is it that you said to John before this whole Ferris wheel thing happened? What is it that you said to John?
The
I'll rip your
Get him
understanding.
fucking
out of
head
the
off if you
picture.
touch her.
Oh, John and I were roommates at the time, living in Glendale, California. And I said, "Hey, this girl is coming in from Minnesota," because I didn't have a car. And I'm like, "I need you to drive me to the airport to pick her up." And he's like, okay. And I said, "And then we're going to go to Venice Beach and hang out." He's like, okay. And I'm like, "And I'm going to buy you some beer." And he's like, "Okay." And that's why John has been my best friend for many, many years.
So you
And
didn't also ask him not to hit on her, like, but she's mine though, just so you know.
I knew John all too well. I knew that was not even a problem.
At the time, Greg, John was basically like you. He was asexual.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that. John was just, John was like, kind of a beaky buzzard kind of character. Girls would come around and John would be like, "Oh,
Oh,
no,
shucks.
oh, shucks.
Golly.
Oh,
Oh,
golly." It was years before, John finally got married that I'd be like, "Why don't you ask her out or whatever? Why don't you?" And he's like, I'm like, "Dude, just seriously." So anyway, so
Hey,
Yeah,
Greg,
I
you
didn't-
should know that John's actually booked to be on the show first week of January. So you can ask him additional questions.
Is he a guy trying to be an actor?
No, he's
So-
actually an internet security expert.
yeah.
Ooh,
But anyway,
even better.
Yeah,
Right.
so you can
Okay.
ask him all of your Wi-Fi questions that you don't know.
So I've been remiss in my drunken interrogating. I didn't even ask Holly, what do you do? I forgot to ask you. What's your thing? What's your bag?
I work with Brendan. We do marketing. So that's what I do. So we make websites, we do digital marketing, and then I do volunteer work. I do Girl Scouts. I have a Girl Scout troop.
Oh, I know you have Girl Scouts.
You do, don't you? Because you've heard them.
Yes.
We have our meetings on Wednesday nights, which is the same night that you do your podcast. It has gotten pretty loud, actually. Sometimes we've moved it to Wednesdays a month to another location, so you won't have to put up with all that. But
They're not
yeah,
as
I get
loud as
some-
the dog, though.
I was going to say they don't have to put up with us. That was, I think, more to
you
Yeah.
don't
the
have to
point.
put up with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, more to the point. The three of us would be talking, and I'm like, I can't comment. Too many young girls downstairs.
Greg, I did get to find out what's behind that door, though, today. So
What?
that's the master bedroom back there.
Oh, so Brendan was like making those noises right there near the master bedroom.
Yes, exactly.
Right here,
And that's why it was so easy for her to come out and whack him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
open
I
pack.
have to tell you, Holly, that's one of our favorite episodes is when you came out and beat him in the head, and we've just been
But-
waiting for that day to happen again.
Now it's very justifiable that the master bedroom's right there.
Yeah.
I thought that was just like a study or something, a little rumpus room. I didn't know. She was
No.
asleep in the next room.
No, that's the bedroom.
What, a rumpus room? Greg, could you define a rumpus room for me? First,
It's
define
a
a
room-
rumpus.
It's a room where rumpusing happens.
I don't know that I
rumpus.
have a Holly. Do we have a rumpus room?
I guess that's our rumpus room.
Yeah.
Well,
the way
no,
you're-
that's a
looks
different
like
kind of rumpus, isn't it? I'm saying like a non-adult rumpus. Maybe the library where the rabbit is. That's kind of a rumpus room.
Kind of a rumpus room.
Yeah,
Rabbits are known for their rumpusing.
yeah, it's a rabbit rumpus.
I always think of the book Where the Wild Things Are and the wild rumpus starts.
Oh,
That's what I think of a rumpus.
But those are still pictures. So what were they doing to actually be causing a rumpus? Not a ruckus, but a rumpus.
Rumpus. I
Yes.
think of dancing weirdly.
Okay. Greg, please show us that, please.
I'm too tired. But I think our Hebrew friends would call that a huzarai.
Would they? Which
Yes,
Hebrew
in
friends?
Yiddish, rumpus is a huzarai. If that helps our Jewish listeners picture rumpus.
I thought he said Keebler friends. And I was
Yes,
like,
those
elves?
too. Those are those
My
who put all
elf
the
friends.
stickers on his refrigerator.
I wish I had Keebler friends who'd make me cookies all the time. That would be nice.
Yeah. Well,
Wouldn't
you
it,
don't.
Greg? Wouldn't it be nice to have Keebler elves make you cookies?
Well,
Yeah.
Greg,
What
now
else would
you
be
know-
nice?
I'm all
You're not-
alone here, Matt. They could make me cookies and then talk to me a little.
All right.
my
Well,
belly.
I think we've definitely passed the halfway point on this. So I
This
think
is
we need
turning into
to.
a pity party.
Yeah, you're doing like
Meh.
like extra pity today, Greg. Like sad, poor me type of stuff
It's
today.
part
So-
of my shtick. I'm fucking happy as a clam.
Okay. Well, define that
Things are
clam
really
for
looking
us.
up for me. Everything's turning up Petix the past few months. Everything's going
Everything's
great.
turning up, Petix. All right, we're gonna go into
Is that
our
a jazz
segment
standard
right now.
that Lavonna could sing?
It could be.
Everything's turning up Petix and daffodils.
Now,
All right, it's time
No.
for our
no.
cooking segment. Here we go.
Food is for eating. Food is for eating. Food is for eating with Waspy Soda Pop. This is totally unprofessional.
Should I be hearing something?
Yeah.
Are you not hearing anything?
No,
I'm
we're
not hearing a
anything.
goddamn thing.
This is
That's why I
you know
sang the
what?
song.
You've heard absolutely nothing because of the fact that I did not hit share screen. So I need to actually do sharing of the sound. I'm not
Screams
getting-
are for sharing. Screams are for sharing.
And now we know
I
that
was,
you're
I was wondering why
editing.
Greg was singing it over it. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? All right, so sorry for the unprofessionalism, everybody. I'm outside of my normal environment, so that's why. Here we go. Hey there, everybody. Hope you all survived Halloween with your elbows and toes intact. This is another episode of Food is for Eating, and I'm Waspy Soda Pop.
Food is for eating. Food is for eating. Food is for eating with Waspy Soda Pop.
I have the best grilled cheese sandwich you'll ever have. We call this grilled cheese neat. Now, what you want to do is you want to get these following ingredients. 5 tablespoons of butter, soften them, divide them, 4 slices of sourdough bread, or whatever kind of bread you really like. I recommend, though, not using money. That's the type of bread that doesn't chew well. Then you want to get 2 cups of shredded cheddar. You could shred other cheese. You could just don't cut the certain cheese that some people make jokes about, because that does not go well on bread. And then 1 tube of Plumber's caulk. So now we're going to have your directions here. So you want to spread 1 tablespoon of butter on one side of each slice of bread, with the butter side down. Top each slice of bread with about half a cup of cheddar. Again, whatever cheese you use. I'm not kidding. All right. Then in a skillet over medium heat, you're going to melt 1 tablespoon of butter, add 2 slices of bread, butter side down. Cook until the bread is golden, unless the bread is black bread, and it'll never get golden, and that would just be a mistake. And until the cheese is starting to melt. That's about 2 minutes. Now, often the cheese will start dripping off the sides of the bread. So this is where the neatness comes in. So you want to grab your tube of plumber's caulk and draw a bead around the top edges of 1 slice of the bread. You want to flip the other slice of bread on top of that bread, and you squeeze them together with your spatula to make sure the caulk sticks, because you use caulk instead of sealant, like silicone, because it dries faster. Anyway, you continue to cook till the cheese is melting but well contained, about 30 seconds more, and then, of course, you want to repeat for your second sandwich. Wipe the skillet clean if necessary. It might be a little bit crunchy because of the caulk, but I tell you, that'll be the neatest damn grilled cheese you ever had. All right, this is Waspy Soda Pop. Food is for eating. See ya. Okay, well, that was unusual.
Waspy is just huffing more jenkem or something. Everyone gets a little more surreal. And like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Well, I can see how that could be useful if you put plumber's caulk around the toast, make it stick together and the cheese won't come out the sides. I could see that.
If it was flavored like with, I don't know, jalapenos maybe. The
jalapeno
flavored
caulk. We've lost Lavonna, though. Lavonna has disappeared.
We've all, with the jalapeno caulk, we lost Holly as well. Everybody's gone now. And now
the Waspy Soda Pop has driven our guests away.
That's why I tell you, you do the Waspy Soda Pop after the guests have the chance to leave. They don't have to hear that shit.
Well, I don't know what's going on with Lavonna. Oh,
Lavonna was there with you.
Her computer was apparently unplugged, and so she ran out of power. And
Is
then Holly is in the
Portland?
Office to my right at the moment, and I don't know what she's
Holly's
doing.
asking me if we're still on the air.
No, Lavonna disappeared, and I'm like, should I leave too?
She ran out of power is what happened, so she's trying to get her computer up and running again.
Yeah, I got
So
it.
I think
she's
she
in
doesn't know how
Portland.
outlets work in Florida.
Wait, where is she now?
Lavonna is behind me about 15 feet.
Can't
She's
she
in
just
our-
join you? Can't you just
What?
come in? Can't you just sit next to you?
If she did, you wouldn't be able to hear her because I've got headphones on.
Oh, she doesn't have headphones. Okay.
Right. They wouldn't be connected to my computer.
You could come sit next to me.
And then we'd have...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll sit next
Lavonna,
to
why don't
Holly.
you go ahead and sit next to Holly? She said you're invited to go into the room with her. All
like
she
a
said
slumber
she's-
party.
She said she's coming on now. Well, Greg, so that should, and at the very least, it'll bring us into our client for today. And what was the name of the client again?
The times they are Strangin. And
Okay.
I know we've
Uh-huh.
touched on this many times when we talk about current events, just how fucking strange the world has gotten, in, especially in the United States in the past 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
But I think we really need to dive deep into this with our keenly analytical lawyer minds
Uh-huh.
that are used to studying law.
All right,
We
well,
have to-
Lavonna is coming on again, so you'll have to repeat that for her as soon as her audio is connected.
So why did you ask me? Why didn't you wait?
Don't ask why, Greg. You don't want to know the reasons. Yeah. Anyway, so Lavonna, Greg was getting into what the client is, the strangeness
Okay.
of things.
Hey, Lavonna. So the today's client is the times they are astringent.
Not
And, I
astringent,
think
not
I
a
think-
cleaner.
Astringent,
Okay.
like you, kind of a astringent man. But it's just, we've kind of talked about this here and there when we talk about stuff on the show, but I really wanted to get this client just really just try to figure out what the hell's happened in 6 years. Seems like the past 6 years, we just accept things that 6 years ago would have seemed like science fiction. Now we're just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happens, I guess.
What are you talking about? Cell phones?
Presidents sell beans from the Oval Office. They sell whatever those beans were.
Beans?
I don't know what he's talking about. So Greg, what from your perspective is the most egregious strangeness? Like, what's on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like off the charts weird? What's off the chart? What do you think is off the charts weird?
Just how it seems like all of a sudden in the past 6 years, so many people, especially in the United States, just want to believe made up stuff that's inane and ridiculous, and they believe it with their
Is there a particular example that you have that you would like to share?
Do you really need one? The past 6 years,
I need your reason. Because you found this client, so it's something that should be near and dear to your heart.
I just figured that you knew what I was talking about. Just like
never assume, Greg,
that I'm not going to take a vaccine for deadly illness because I heard something on the internet. The January 6th insurrection is just forgotten. The closest America ever came to a coup and losing our democracy is just kind of like, whatever.
You don't think the Civil War was pretty close to that?
Yeah, and people admitted it, and people dealt with it and said, "Whoa, this was some serious shit. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again." Now we're just
some of those people who were part of that felt that never ended, actually.
Well, yeah, they didn't literally think that, but they were like, "Oh, I wish it kept going.
Yeah,
I wish we won, and I want to keep fighting." Like the KKK were like, "Nah, we want to keep going with the Confederacy." But this is just like this half of the country is like, not only did it not happen, but maybe it happened, but it was Antifa or some actors who did it, even though we saw them all on TV. That's just one of 1,000 examples of all the shit we've talked about. Just the flat Earth Society's coming back. I wouldn't be fucking surprised in 5 years if people start saying, "Oh, the Earth is the center of the solar system. The sun revolves around us." No, I read it on Reddit. It's true.
Wait a minute. Time out. The Earth isn't the center of the universe?
No. And like Galileo figured
Mar-a-Lago is the center of the universe, Brendan.
Yes.
Right.
But Galileo figured this out fucking 5 centuries ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years there's millions of people who are like, "Oh, I don't know about the sun thing being the center of the solar system."
This is what I can guarantee you, Greg. I can guarantee you this. The big yellow one is the sun.
Right.
So
the
question that is true.
So the question becomes, I think, Greg, when we really boil it down is, and I think we've touched on this before as a kind of a high-level philosophical discussion, are people more stupid, or are the stupid people just amplified and louder? I happen to believe that people have always been this dumb. We just can hear from them all now, all the time, unfortunately.
I'm going to have to agree with Brendan on that, and I use as evidence for this a line from Blazing Saddles, where...
Pardon me while I whip this out?
Don't say that one line, Matt. Don't say that one line.
No, not that one. Where it's where Cleavon Little is talking to Gene Wilder, and they're saying the fact is that these are hard-working folk. They're the salt of the earth. He goes, morons. So, in other words, they've always been there. They just didn't have the internet before to amplify.
But it's the amplification. It's not just making them louder. It's also making them go off into different streams of insanity. Like it seems like there's things that like I couldn't even imagine anyone believing 10 years ago, like that 5G towers. I know we didn't have 5G towers 20 years ago, but let's say radio towers. There wasn't even one person be like, radio towers cause cancer. I'm sorry, there probably was a handful of people. But
Don't
now
you remember
it's just
people were saying that cell phones cause cancer? Don't you remember that? That was like 10, 15 years ago.
That could be true, though.
It's not true, Greg. I mean, it is true that they said that.
Okay, but I'm saying I barely heard it. It wasn't like a thing.
But you can't. Here's part of that problem, Matt. Is you say cell phones don't cause cancer. Well, prove that they don't. You can't prove that they don't.
You could. Has cancer increased since cell phone usage? Because everyone uses a cell phone.
I know just in the last, help me out, Holly, 4 years, 5 years maybe, I know 3 people have died of brain cancer.
I know more. But I mean,
I don't know that brain cancer was as prevalent back then as it is now. Does that mean that it was cell phones or Bluetooth or 5G or maybe they were just eating the wrong food? I don't know, but it seems unusual.
Yeah, I think there is a case to be made for waves in the air to cause some kind of physical ailment, just in terms of just microwaves in and of themselves are waves, and they're contained within a device, right? And they can cause a tremendous amount of harm. Now, a lot of these types of waves are at various different frequencies, humming around us all the time. So yeah, there is an idea that could resonate within bodies and cause all sorts of problems, But whether it's a cause and effect thing, I don't know. I will say there's certainly more people that we're aware of who are freaking loony because of the fact that they're all over the internet and they've found their different tribes to be with. Like you mentioned the flat earth guys, but Lavonna was telling me about this whole new one today that I hadn't even heard about, that apparently John F. Kennedy Jr. has always been alive and he's going to be Trump's running mate in the next election.
I heard that too. The QAnons like John F. Kennedy Jr., even though he's a total Democrat.
Even though he's dead.
I know, but I'm saying you'd think they wouldn't want him to run with Trump because he's not a right-wing zealot.
Well, it could just be that they're proving that the QAnon guys were never really part of the Republican Party. They were just their own thing. Just like Trump was never really part of the Republican Party. He was his own thing.
But they never like liberal people, QAnon. They, no matter how loony they are, they always are like, oh, yeah.
I got to tell you got to be pretty damn liberal to think that there's reptilians taking over people.
That's not liberal. That's insane. That's
very progressive thinking. That's called giving equality to lizards, Greg. And
that's thinking outside of the box.
Right, exactly. And conservatives can't think like that.
Hey, man, lizard lives matter. I don't get where you guys are coming from. I mean, reptiles, amphibians, you guys are... Slee stacks. You guys are obviously mammalian-centric.
One in a mammalian.
But
I'm reptilist.
The girls are just on mute at this point.
They are. They're preventing.
I'm trying to figure out what to say exactly. It's just so funny to listen to you, Greg. Honestly, because Brendan and I have the same thoughts. But
that explains everything.
But the thing that's so interesting about it, though, is that
I am Holly,
people that have different viewpoints, and you have these people that have different viewpoints, and they think the same thing about you. Do you know what I mean? It's like somebody.
But they're wrong, though.
Well, I know, and then you think they're wrong, and this is the whole game of it. It's like we all kind of have our own little areas that we believe in, and then we think the other people's wrong. And it's so I think part of it is we just need to be kind of self-aware that like you take religion for example. Not every religion.
Greg started.
No, well, okay, but I'm not going to name a specific one. Religion, but, every religion has its own idea about what's going to happen after we die, but nobody can prove anything. So we need to just be aware that since we can't prove anything along those lines, we might as well not argue about it. So now we've kind of come back into 5G, for example. I don't know. Maybe it does some harm. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're going to know for probably another 50 years, but there are so many things happening right now in our environment. There's so many chemicals. There's so many new things happening now in our environment that didn't happen 100 years ago, that how could we even point to a particular cause? Like sometimes we can say lead. Lead is what's making these people crazy, but you can't always know. I think all we can know is that there's a lot of stuff coming at us physically and is probably going to do something.
Holly, I think I picked a bad example because science, who knows? Maybe 5G, you're right. It could.
Greg, totally your hands are enormous.
So, but I want to go back to the insurrection where you've got 40% of Americans, and I think they're willfully being ignorant. They don't really believe this, but they're convinced that those were all crisis actors and Antifa dressed up as Trump supporters doing that insurrection. And
I think, again, we've talked about this, Greg. I think your view of that is skewed slightly by the media that you listen to. I don't think that everyone thinks.
I don't listen to the media. I don't watch the news.
Okay. So you don't watch the news. So where do you get the idea that everyone thinks those were crisis actors?
Because
who is everyone?
I just watch comedy shows who talk about it. And I see like guys interview people like on a daily show.
So basically you got the information from Squidbillies is where you get your information from?
The Daily Show. Okay.
Yeah.
So from comedy shows you get your information.
They actually go out there and talk to people. I've never heard, I've heard people say, that there were some Antifa people in there. I've never heard somebody think that they were all Antifa. I've never even heard that concept.
I've just heard of, I know, it's just anecdotal from TV, like hearing people say like, there was no Trump supporters there. So yeah, I'm probably wrong.
I've never heard anybody say that, but
okay.
I think that there was a certain amount at a certain point that was blown way out of proportion, or certain media outlets like OAN and others were promoting that this was that sort of Alex Jones crazy bullshit. I think we've all kind of eventually sorted out that was a lot of Trump people, and maybe there was some bad actors in there, but so what?
It was 5G towers that were dressed as Trump supporters.
Yeah, the vast majority. What I want to get to is what each one of us has as a secret crazy belief.
You've heard all mine.
That we know isn't really probably true, but we believe it maybe a little bit anyway. That's what I want to know, Greg. What is your...
I'm trying to think.
What's the thing knocking around in your skull that if it comes out, people go, "You're insane"?
Yeah.
Well, some people would say, well, the fact that I've always had a crush on Sarah Palin. Is that? I think she's hot.
No, that doesn't count. Come on.
No, I know.
Would that be delusional, Greg?
Because we've talked about this too before about like, yeah, I'm into JFK conspiracy stuff, but all the shit I believe, I've seen the documents that back it up. It's not just like, I just believe it in my gut. I'm just going to make some shit up.
Have you actually seen the documents, or have you seen copies of things that you were told?
No, they're not even documents. They're just historical records. Like Lee Harvey Oswald was considered a commie, and he ran away to Russia. And then when he came back, America paid for his ticket to come back, and it was accepted with open arms. Instead of being blacklisted and being like, you're a fucking communist. Something was fishy with him. I don't know who, the whole story, but there's some fishy things in that story that
is
are
the fact that his middle name was Harvey.
You think that helped?
I think that's a telling point right there.
The giant invisible rabbit next to him smooth things over.
So let's okay, so that's fair. So JFK, okay.
It all goes back to JFK.
There's a lot, I know, we're sort of circling around. There's a lot of people that think there's a big conspiracy there, and there's people that go, you're fucking crazy. There isn't a conspiracy there, and I can see both sides of that. So we talked about this a little bit. I don't think it was on the air, but we talked about UFOs, right? Yeah. And I think Greg, you were like, oh shit, Brendan thinks UFOs are real, fucking loony. But I could say the same thing about UFOs that you could say about JFK.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
There's no documentation of a UFO.
There's a ton of documentation. There's just as much documentation, if not more, physical documentation of unidentified flying objects. Whether they're fucking spacemen or something else, you can't deny that the government has been investigating this subject for decades. And just recently, if you watched any of that shit that came out recently through the guy from Blink 182 or whatever the fuck it was, those
Blink 182,
the drummer is doing UFO investigations.
No, he's dating one of the Kardashians. No, it was like the bass player.
The bass player was dating an alien.
Oh, I trust the bass player way more than the drummer. So
yeah, you should. Less tattoos.
I'm all in.
Less tattoos. But anyway, point is, whether you believe it or not, there's just as much, if not more, evidence over time that says there are things that are occurring. Not all of it, but enough that you go, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, that happens all the time. I mean, there's always phenomena that we don't know what it is, but there's critical faculties and logic you have. And if
So there's critical factors and logic in that, in those sorts of science, but not in the fact that you believe that they couldn't have possibly just let Lee Harvey Oswald in because they just didn't give a shit and it was
could
blown
be.
out.
You're right, but I'm just saying. Think about it. What's the fact? What's the chances that there's all these aliens from other galaxies coming to our Earth and they've never let themselves be known?
But apparently they have let themselves be known, Greg. There's all those witnesses.
No, barely. Only
all those eyewitnesses. All those people who would be willing to give a deposition and tell you their stories, Greg. And you would look them in the eye and just say, I don't believe you. You're crazy. Because you know better than them because of that hat you're wearing.
Over Manhattan and be like, hey, we're here.
Why would they
travel the galaxy? We're just going to sneak around the bayous of Alabama and probe rednecks.
Maybe that's what they're used to. Maybe they're the rednecks of their planets.
But the point is,
you know what? But here's the thing: most of the planet is also rural. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the chances that they're going to go in the middle of a city are probably. I mean, I'm not saying that I believe that either. Greg,
No.
I just try not to think about it.
Yeah, we don't know how many fish the aliens are probing.
Can you imagine if we finally figured out how to get to another galaxy and we just like showed up and we're just like, let's just poke around for 70 years and probe a guy here? We'd probably be like, hey, we're here. We want to learn from you, but we came for a reason.
I don't know that that's true. I think that's...
They would conquer us, to be honest, Brendan. If they had the technology to get here...
Why would they want to conquer us?
Why not?
If you're going to look at a pile of ants, do you go to the ants and stand over the ant hill and go, hello, ants, I'm here. My name is Greg.
Water and resources and oil, to them, I'm sure.
But why do they need water and resources and oil? Anyway,
because they're creatures that need things.
Yeah, but you're making unscientific allegations, Greg, by saying
that's not unscientific. Everyone in the universe needs things. And
everyone in the universe doesn't necessarily need what we have.
Yeah, maybe they have. Maybe they have what they need.
But
what have these aliens told you, Greg? All right, so now we're really digging into it. So you've been obviously talking to aliens and finding out what their needs and wants are.
Whoa.
I know what their needs and wants are. It's universal nature. It's not human nature.
My point was, Greg is proving the point of,
a lack of critical faculties?
Well, somebody can have an opinion.
No, an excess of critical faculties. I have too many.
Somebody
I'm tired of this bullshit going around.
Yeah, but not on the JFK thing, because that's not bullshit.
No, I do have critical faculties with that. I just go by the shit that is like very stodgy, that is proven. Nobody debates the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald was left back in our country, even though he was avowed communist.
No one would debate that there are craft that have been spotted on the highest level radar shit that people can't explain what they're doing or how.
Yeah, we can't explain. We don't know. What
so that's the same thing, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Lavonna, what do you have to say about this? You've been very quiet during this entire bickering that's been going on.
I think everybody has watched too much Star Trek.
If Greg could go back in time and be part of the OK Corral, he would have shot William Shatner. That would have happened.
So then, Greg and my bickering aside about UFOs or JFK, which I'm totally open to both. The question becomes, what is the weird thing? We got three people. Two of us have admitted to something that arguably we could argue about. Yeah. The three of you have not said, hey, here's a crazy thing I think that people could think was nuts.
I think Atlantis existed.
You do not.
I do. But only in the sense that there was once a giant continent that split. And more than likely, people were part of some land that went underwater, and that was the end of that particular civilization. And that's my concept of what Atlantis could have been. And that could have also been a concept that could fly with the flooding of the earth for Noah and what have you. Those things could have a historical basis, and that's why I think that Atlantis could be real. Not in the sense that Aquaman lives there, because we all know Aquaman lives in your freezer. But
what about Namor.
The Submariner?
Yes.
Or Submariner, or however that's pronounced. No, I mean, yeah, those are comic book characters, Greg, and I know that this is your life, and what you collect is the historical stories of all of these comic book characters that you know to be true and real and live, living aliens and human beings. But I don't believe that. So, but I do think that Atlantis existed in some form due to the breaking of the continents. If I'm willing to believe that there was a one continent known as Pangea that did break off, which I have no proof for, but there's certainly a lot of theory that says that it's true.
I think that's awesome. I haven't really thought about it that much, but I've certainly read stuff, and I think wasn't it Plato that talked about Atlantis? I think that's where it got
Ignatius Donnelly also wrote a lot about Atlantis.
Oh, Ignatius Donnelly was another one.
And Donovan did too. Donovan.
Under the ocean.
No, I think that was something
under
different.
The sea.
Hail Atlantis.
All right, so
Lavonna is quiet.
Holly
is quiet.
Girls to open up about.
So Holly, what is your? Do you have some belief that you're like, I don't want to talk about this?
I do have a weird belief, but I don't really believe it, but I think about it, and that is the 10 dimensions. Have you ever seen those videos about the multiverse and the different dimensions that could all exist concurrently?
Yeah, it's a whole Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, well, there's mathematically, it's been worked out by very smart people, and maybe it's true. I don't know.
I think scientists have said it's true. I think that's the common scientific belief right now. There's a multiverse out there.
And that's where the aliens come from.
And that's where Greg's illusion comes from. So, Greg, scientists are saying that it's true, so that must be true. So you're just like a Trump supporter.
Scientists. Why believe scientists? Because
they just say it. Because you don't know what scientists you're stating this from. You're just saying some scientists have said this. Which scientists, Greg? What reports have you read?
Sorry, I don't have the list in front of me.
But I think it's
your lack of critical thinking, Greg, is the problem.
No, it's not critical thinking. It's not just being a quibbling, anal retentive douche. It's like, I read things. I don't read a lot, but it seems like I glean things. I
read them and I believe everything.
No, I don't believe everything, but it does seem like the tenor of the scientific community the past 20 years has been like, yeah, this is.
That's what they call the 10 dimensions, Greg. They call it a tenor.
It seems like it's possible. Mathematically, it's possible, and so that makes it interesting.
Exactly, that's science.
An idea that maybe, but
that's hearsay, Greg. It's not science.
But it seems
hearsay.
Yes.
Because the Scientific American magazine had it on the cover.
Is that what it is now? Because it was on the cover of Scientific American.
Various scientific journals have now. It seems like that's where the scientists.
It seems like that.
Yes, I'm sorry, I can't prove it. I'm not a scientist. But just like
how you're not a lawyer either, so neither am I, and I can say this is hearsay.
Matt, do you know about black holes? Have you ever heard of a black hole? Do you think black holes are real?
You have no idea. Theoretical, but they have not actually proven they exist.
Okay, but you know that most of the scientific community thinks that black holes are probably out there. Yeah,
they think probably, yes, but there's
it's
no
not some weird
exist.
kooky idea out there like by guys on Reddit. It's the scientific community. Real scientists are like, yeah, it's probably real. We've seen things from our telescopes.
Yeah, or they want it to be real. And that's their personal religion.
All right,
so that's the beauty of science is once they find out it's not real, they'll say, oh, we were wrong.
So in the meantime, people like you take it as gospel that it is real, and you think it's real.
No, until they prove it wrong, then I'll say, oh, I guess science figured out that it's not real. That's what science is. It's not
science is stupid beliefs. Science is just as can be just as untrustworthy as religion.
It can be until the scientific method at least says we will correct ourselves. We won't just keep believing something because our gut tells us it's true. Some idiotic thing.
Right, but we can all agree that can take hundreds of years.
Yeah, Copernicus.
It can.
Okay, so final round of Jeopardy is Lavonna and her belief that is maybe controversial.
When I was 10 years old,
Uh-oh.
I was making socks. It was my job. And
in the sweatshop?
It was my job. It was my job in the family that I had to
factory
match socks for the family.
Oh, and this is a funny story. I'll shut up.
Yes. And my sister, who's 8 years older than I, was going to college. I was 10. And she had a roommate that she knew she was going to be rooming with when she got to college. And so in my 10-year-old mind, I thought you needed to have a roommate in order to go to college. For some reason, I put that all together and thought that, you know, as I'm matching socks, you had to have matching socks in order to go to college. And so if you did not have matching socks, meaning you had two different kind of socks on, you were not smart enough to go to college.
Well, that's kind of true. People who don't have the wherewithal to wear the same color socks probably aren't smart enough to go to college.
But you haven't told the full story, Lavonna.
What? I put that on our children?
You have to act it out like you've acted out for everybody else now.
What?
Outside of this. Like, you
Oh,
go
like
to college.
I said, you get to go to college. Yeah. As I match the socks together, you get to go to college is what I do every single time. Is
I
that
think
the
that's,
socks got to go to college.
I think that is, I don't think this is necessarily bizarre or non-standard belief. I think that's a good rule of thumb. My mother used to tell me that you should know a man by the shoes he wears.
That's words of wisdom.
Yeah, and it's completely ridiculous, but I hold to it to this day. If I meet somebody new, one of the first things I do is I look at their shoes.
Isn't that funny?
Do you lick their shoes?
Do I what?
Do you lick their shoes?
No,
Good.
I don't
Just
lick
wanted
their
to confirm
shoes.
that. Okay.
But I did notice the shoes you were wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's a thing with women that I've
You're
known
on my
so many
feet.
women. I've known women in my life who told me like, "Oh, I met the cutest guy and he seemed kind of charming, but oh my God, he was wearing Birkenstocks, so I can't date him."
With socks
Like that
on.
was a deal breaker, like Crocs or something. That was the deal breaker.
But
He
can
was
we at
wearing-
least all agree that astrology is bullshit? Can we all agree with that?
There's two women here, Matt. I don't know about that. Women
Yeah,
like
but
astrology.
It's not like genetic, Greg. They're allowed to
women
think
like
as well.
astrology way more than men. It's just anecdotally proven by me.
I don't think I've ever heard my wife ever mention astrological signs, ever.
Well, you got a rare one.
No.
Oh, that's true. You do agree with astrology, Lavonna?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't. No, I'm agreeing with you that no, I've never said those things.
Yeah.
I'm not into astrology either, but I'm not judgy on people who are. So that's where I
Oh,
stand.
You know,
we all-
they may
Well, we
know
don't have to be
something-
judgy about them. We can just agree that it doesn't.
They
really
may know
predict
something I
anything.
do not, but I
Yeah.
personally don't believe it. No.
Yeah, I think it's like people who think they're experts at playing craps. You know, it's like they think they've got patterns, but I don't think they're going to win. Ultimately, they're not going to make their money back in the time that they spent on it. You know, it's kind of like using the tarot and going, these cards that are produced en masse by this factory somehow have magical powers so that you can predict how this goes based upon I don't know what. So that's just my personal point of view. Unless, Greg, you are into believing tarot, or is that not too scientific for you?
You really think I believe in tarot? The biggest cynical atheist fuck who doesn't believe in anything does. Believes in tarot.
You don't believe in anything?
I don't believe in anything.
Except for JFK.
He believes in science.
No.
I believe in science.
Oh, science. Why believe in science? Science, gross. Yeah, scientific method.
All
It
the
just
scientists.
depends on what science. Some science good, some science bad.
No,
Not
that's
all
the
science
thing.
the same.
That's that scientific method says we'll eventually realize, okay, this guy's got a better idea. Let's now switch and change.
You know that unidentified flying objects often become identified flying objects, right, Greg? So you do recognize that UFOs
when does that
do
happen,
exist.
Matt? Have they
When
ever
they've-
been?
When somebody goes, "Oh, I found that drone on the ground. That must be what that was."
Yeah, but I'm
Right.
not talking. I'm talking
But that's
about
when it becomes
aliens.
identified. It's not.
I'm
It
talking
was
about
unidentified
aliens,
before.
Matt. We're not
Yeah.
talking about the exact meaning of UFO. Like
Oh well, I was.
I've seen whatever, like a floating colostomy bag with helium in it, and that's unidentified flying object.
I really doubt that you saw a flying colostomy bag.
Okay, I made it up to make.
Well,
a
that
point,
was
sorry.
his friend for at
But
least 10 years of his early
people
life.
into UFOs are not into just things that are unidentified, and they're flying and they're objects that we'll figure out. No, it's about aliens coming to Earth, and yet
I think you're
themselves.
being over fucking judgy and taking everyone who would study the subject and rolling them all into the idea that you have, which is that anyone who says unidentified flying objects immediately believes there are aliens that are coming to Earth and capturing rednecks and anal probing them. And I think there's a bigger spectrum of people that might consider that there's something there besides anal.
I think the anal probing started with the whales, honestly. I think
I
that's
have
where
friends
when
who
the
are
aliens
not
came to
rednecks
Earth, they went,
who see
those are the
UFOs."
biggest living things here. We need to go after those things floating around in the water as opposed to those little guys that are walking around.
So they
living.
probed them?
Yes, they went after the whales, Greg.
So Greg, so here's where I stand on the whole alien thing. We have a great big universe, and I am sure there's life out there.
Me too.
Yeah. So now, whether or not that life can make it all the way here to Earth, that's debatable. But
it can.
But I think it could. And I
Greg
don't
has
think
seen the science on their planes.
I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that an alien has come here and just, like Brendan says, looked at us like ants and gone, okay, let's check this out. I just don't think it hasn't happened to me. I don't have personal reality on it or any proof that it has happened, but I am willing to entertain the thought. And anyway, I'm just not willing to necessarily dismiss that just because I don't, what the hell do I know?
I guess my thing is, and that's true, since we're picking on Greg, and that's, kind of an easy thing to do.
Highly unusual.
I know, is the idea that science is infallible. And I think that right now, going back to kind of circling back to how we started this, which is this idea that, you could just throw science at somebody and go, I believe this, and science backs me up, and it's not always true. And no matter how you argue, let's talk about something for a second, because I was talking to my daughter.
Yeah, let's talk about something.
Eugenics is scientifically sound, meaning...
Greg.
If you want to breed better people, then you should breed people who have better genes. And you will make better people just like you make better cows or dogs or whatever. That's science. Now, is that fucked? Yes, because it's fucked. But it's science.
Brendan, I said Matt because I was disagreeing with you so strongly. And I'm used to doing that. Brendan, I'm not fucking Dr. Frankenstein here. I'm not like science rules overall. I don't look at horrible things. Science can prove a lot of shitty things. The Nazis in their experiments during World War II, they discovered a lot of important scientific discoveries by experimenting, horrible experiments on Jewish prisoners.
Right.
But it doesn't make it. It's not like I'm going to be like, thumbs up, Nazis, science wins again.
That's definitely a quote going on a t-shirt, Greg. Thumbs up, Nazis.
Science wins again.
Greg says, thumbs up, Nazis.
Yeah, I'm just saying that we have to be careful where we go.
I know. I'm just thinking about the scientific method that since the Enlightenment we've discovered.
The scientific Mengele method, you mean?
Things.
Of course, it's done more good than harm.
Just having rational thought and being like, okay, maybe I'm wrong about this, instead of as opposed to spiritualism or tarot, where you're just fine. There's no proof that it works ever. But
the one tarot that works is the taro root, which is good for mashing and feeding to people. The taro root actually is a good thing.
No, that's not true. It's terrible. It tastes horrible, taro root.
You just have to give it the right seasoning and treat it with care and dignity.
Is that a turmeric?
No, that's something completely different. Taro, T-A-R-O.
You could put turmeric in your taro pudding.
That's what I'm saying.
Taro pudding. Or you could rip up tarot cards and make them into a pudding as well.
Yeah, Waspy Soda Pop would love that.
That might be next week's recipe. A little cock and a little tarot cards in your pudding. But I think that today at least we found out that if you have identical 5G towers, you'll go to college with aliens.
Yes.
That's
We
what
did
we
find
learned
that.
today. Yeah, it's definitely
But-
good. Anyway,
but-
we have
But
I'm gonna
you'll only go to the school in Atlantis.
so we have to bring it all together. All right. Well, I want to thank Holly, Haggerty, and Lavonna Bratschi very much for putting up
Thank you, guys.
with our general insanity that we do every week. Now you get to hear both sides of the conversation, not just the sides of your husbands. So now you know exactly what goes on, and this
Yeah,
is
what an
pretty
idiot
much
I am. Now
this
you
is pretty much
know.
what goes on every week. And for some reason, we have 3 to 7 billion listeners every week, and apparently they all enjoy this. I don't know why. But anyway, Holly and Lavonna, if you have any last words that you would like to convey, please do. This is a perfect time. If you have a website you want to promote, if you want to promote your business for anybody listening out there, because even though we have listeners, some of them might
The
want
Girl
a marketing
Scouts.
business. They might want to buy masks from Lavonna from her Etsy site. I don't know. If you guys want to promote something, go ahead.
Thin Mint cookies.
Yeah, buy lots of Girl Scout cookies. Definitely support Girl Scouts. And this upcoming year, there's an event called World Creativity and Innovation, and you should go to their website, wciw.org, and check it out. It's an international event promoting creativity and solving the world's problems with creativity and innovation. So that's something I volunteer for. And then I think the most important thing that I actually love this topic, Greg, that you brought up, because it kind of gets to the heart of everything, that all the problems I think we have in the world, which is we just disagree with each other so much. And I really do know for a fact that there are people that, you said that you're an atheist, and there's people that think you're crazy because you're an atheist. I don't think you're crazy. And I don't think the person who believes in Jesus, I think we all think we're right, and we think everyone else is wrong. And we have to kind of be aware that we all think we're right and that other people think we're wrong. And we have to just kind of continue the conversation until we find points of agreement, and we have to stop thinking that the other person is an idiot or morally derelict just because they don't agree with us.
Wait, what was that word you said? Morally what?
Morally derelict, but that's totally wrong. Morally
Derelict?
derelict. Yeah, whatever.
Derelict.
See,
Okay.
so don't judge me because I couldn't pronounce that word.
Yeah. Matt is definitely judging you right now.
Yeah, Greg is
It's
definitely
okay,
morally
it's okay.
derelict.
Morally derelict. Yeah. So yeah, whatever. So just, don't question somebody's intelligence or their ethics just because they don't agree with you. Just continue having the conversation. And that's what we need to do. We just need to continue having the conversation and, because obviously we're not all right. Obviously everybody is not right because we don't all agree with each other. So there's a lot of wrong out there. So, but maybe we too are not 100% right. So I think we should just be aware of that. And that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Do that's how I became an atheist? It was one night, I was 16, and I was thinking, wait, there's 1 billion Buddhists, there's millions of Muslims. They all think they're so right. Some of them got to be wrong, and then maybe they're all wrong. So it was just like, because I grew up Catholic and, just faith, trust of faith, but everyone has that faith. The Buddhists do, the Muslims. So it was like, if everyone thinks they're right. So that's interesting that you said that.
Yes. So are you ready to convert to Islam now, Greg?
No, because somebody's wrong. That's what I'm saying.
But the
Somebody-
atheist could be
they're all
wrong.
They could
not
be, but
everybody
the
can be
on our side.
right. Not everybody can be right, so that makes everybody wrong.
Well, the fact that just because you believe in something that is so right, that doesn't mean shit, because there's more people on the other side of the
right.
world.
Sure, I'm just saying your logic is not everybody can be right, so nobody can be right.
Yes.
About that issue for sure.
I honestly
it's all
think
gobbledygook.
so here's the thing, because we can't prove what happens after we die, I think atheists, people who are really dug in as an atheist, maybe agnostic would be a little bit more of a rational thing, since we're not totally sure, than being like a dug in atheist. So that's just my own opinion, since you can't prove that there is nothing any more than somebody else could prove that there is, maybe agnostic is a safer route to go.
Yeah, Greg, just be safe.
I think
And wear a condom,
But
Greg.
you don't have to be safe. Whatever.
Even though your hat is kind of like a condom for your head. All right, so now I want to get to Lavonna in terms of if she has anything she wants to promote.
Yes.
Anything you want to, any final words, Lavonna?
My products that I make for music teachers are available on zellerware.com. Also on Etsy and eBay. Just look for Zellerware. I'm also on TikTok.
Is that W-A-R-E or W-E-A-R?
W-E-A-R, Z-E-L-L-E-R, W-E-A-R, like you're going to wear it. And I would appreciate any positive thoughts, prayers, whatever you want to put out there for things to go well. I'm a big believer in let's support each other in the way that we can. And to kind of go off on what Holly said, that, everybody has different thoughts and beliefs. And I think it's important, if I allow you to believe what you believe, you should allow me to believe what I believe too. And it's kind of meeting in the middle. And it's more like a coming together in peace. To have those discussions with people, I think, is an important thing to remember, that we all share this planet together, and getting along helps things go better. And people are not going to believe the way that you believe, but if we treat each other with respect and care for each other in that way, I think it's going to make it easier.
Well, thank you very much for Lavonna and Holly, and both of you are no longer allowed on the show because that goes against everything we stand for. We are the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble and Bicker, and neither Brendan nor I deserve either of you. So that's why we have Greg.
agree.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Anyway, so this once again has been the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble and Bicker, and we'll be back next week with some unknown person that neither Brendan or Greg want to talk to, but it's something I've lined up, and we'll find out later. And thank you all once again.
Bye.
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 Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!